Alright, I wonder if I can do this in one take. And the microphone's working, didn't even have to mess around with it. The microphone usually is kind of broken and I have to like fiddle with the jack plug thing to make it work, but it seems to have fixed itself, so that's fine. What's happening, folks? I'm going to try and do this in one take. We'll see what happens. I'm going to make today's video just kind of a mellow kind of chat about stuff. I have some like bullet point notes down here that I'm going to refer to for my talking points so that I don't get completely lost. Alright, so what am I going to start with? There was a video that I made 2-3 videos last week even. Wasn't happy with any of them, that's why there was no video. And this week I haven't been out shooting because we're possibly closing on a house and Munster had something in his eye, had to go to the vet. My car has been low on oil and just a whole bunch of things kind of going on that have prevented me from getting out to shoot street in Denver. I've still been shooting in the mornings while walking the dog as I always do, but recently I haven't really been getting anything good. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to talk about, the point I wrote down here is photo makers versus photo takers. And this was just something that I saw in another street photography video, and I kind of disagreed with the point of it, and just wanted to vent my own opinions on it. And the point was pretty well thought out, to be fair, in the sense of if you are using an older style camera, if you use a film camera where everything's manual, there's no automatic stuff, and you're shooting on film, it's technically a lot more difficult. Like, you need to be able to dial in your exposure, dial in your focusing point, you need to sort of understand how to expose a scene, because you can't review it on the back of the camera. And that's all sound. You should learn to do that sort of stuff. But it's not, knowing all of that stuff, I don't think makes anybody a better photographer at all. It makes you a technically better photographer, and it's important to learn. So yes, it is for sure. But just using manual stuff and shooting film does not make you a better photographer at all. Your choice of medium doesn't make you a better photographer. You can shoot digital or film, and neither one will make your picture inherently better. The film might have a nicer texture, nicer, maybe better colors depending on how you shoot with digital, and more sort of like depth or feeling or something to the image, like nostalgia, I think is something that a lot of people get from shooting film. Now, the reason that I say that is, if I can find the picture, I'll put it up on the screen. There was a picture of two street photographers from the UK taking a selfie with each other that was shared. And the guy on the left is Matt Stewart, who has been photographing in London from the late 90s, I think, and he always shot with like a Leica MP, I think, and he always shot film up until recently. He started to shoot digital. But the point is, he shot film and released a book that was mostly shot in film, and he shot it in that way, with completely manual Leica, not even a light meter in there. He just exposed by eye, and he learned that, and it's a fantastic skill to have. Now, the guy next to him is Martin Parr, and if you don't know who Martin Parr is, you should probably research him a little bit at least. He's probably the most influential British photographer of his generation, maybe even of the generation after him. He's a Magnum photographer and one of the most famous photographers in the world as far as I'm aware. And he definitely shot film in the past, but he now shoots digital, and you can see in the picture he's holding a Canon 5D something, maybe an SR or something like that, and he also has a large flash with a modifier on the top of it. It's a gigantic setup that is not the norm for street photography at all. But that's what he likes, that's what works for him, and that's how he chooses to shoot. And I don't think anybody that makes YouTube videos that I'm aware of has the prestige to be able to say that Martin Parr is not as good a photographer because he's shooting digital, and he actually also shoots auto. He doesn't shoot manual. So, I mean, maybe he manually focuses, but I don't think so. He is like, yeah, you can't tell Martin Parr that he's not a good photographer. You can have your opinion, but he's a successful photographer. So the medium is not what's actually important. It is literally just the content of your frame at the end of the day. And if you can make it stick, then that's what's important. All right, I think I should move on to the next point. Something that I've been trying to do recently is to create layers in my photos, and I tried to include this in a video, and I just don't know enough about the subject to be able to riff and talk about it to tell people what I'm trying to do. But someone mentioned that I should make a video about layering in photography because I try to do it a lot, and I just don't think I'm that good at it yet. And like the basic layering is having a foreground, a midground, and a background. So like you have something in your foreground. This is what I used to do. Like Saul Leiter would have out of focus elements in the foreground, and then your subject in the midground, and then the background is like the city or other things happening. But there's a more complex version of layering that I see in Alex Webb's photos that I have been trying to sort of incorporate into my own stuff, and that's having multiple subjects that all sort of add something to the picture, make it more complex, yet still well composed. And other than maybe one or two pictures, I'll throw the one up on the screen that's the closest I've been to it. And this is a thing that I'm working on. And then the next point is making unique photos, which actually flows on from this. And I think by being able to learn how to layer properly and turn this like 3D world around you into a 2D image that you've managed to make it look layered is a good step to making unique photos. And you know, one of the problems that I have found is that looking through Instagram now, and it's popular to do that light and shadow stuff, and I love it. I like really dark areas with a bright section, maybe a silhouette or a person doing something interesting in there, and it's all angular and beautifully composed, and I love that sort of stuff. But it's very hard to do that uniquely, so I don't do it as much as I used to try to do it. And I think maybe the key, or one of the keys towards it, to making a photo unique, or a photo like that unique, is to have gestures in there, and to have multiple gestures or something different happening on the street. And that's the difficulty of street photography, is like it's easy to walk outside and take a quick picture of somebody as they're walking down the street towards you, but if they're not an interesting person, they're not doing something interesting or an interesting light, or it's not super well composed and it's kind of distracting, it's so difficult to make good street photography. As easy as it is to go and shoot street photography, and that's where I've been sort of trying to do recently, is to focus on more the gestures and the people and things like that, to try and make photos that are a little more unique and a little less easy to repeat. And that, you know, anything that's temporary in the street as well. I think I heard this in like a video where Joshua K. Jackson was talking, and he was like, you know, if you see roadworks or like a temporary sign, or you know, window displays, things like that, these things like cycle and rotate, and they won't always remain the same. So if you can make something unique from that, when that's gone, likely that won't be something that you can find again. Even recently, I was driving past a guy on a big guy with a beard on a moped with a pit bull with goggles on the front of the moped, and I shot this from the car window just as I was driving past. And I don't think that's a repeatable photo, really, unless you happen to find a big guy on a moped with a pit bull and goggles on. And that's probably a pretty rare thing to find. So things like that, weird things that stand out, unique stuff, gestures, and whatnot. All right. I was talking about Instagram as like that's where it's like the Instagram is like a huge influence on a lot of people now, and I find that it's very easy to get sucked into making similar images to what you see on Instagram, and that's fine. Like, all of us need to do stuff to like get these things out of our system, learn how to do it, find that inspiration, and learn how to take it and put it into your own pictures. But it can become a little overwhelming, and then the pictures that tend to do well are not always the pictures that are the most unique or the most difficult to get, or the ones that fit into that Instagram aesthetic the most. And recently I'm like, well, this picture that I didn't really like that much, or didn't feel like I really worked hard to get, got 400 likes, which is great. It's great. I love when people engage on Instagram. I don't mean to sound ungrateful for people liking and following my work. But then when I'm super proud of a picture, or I just love the gestures in something, I find that it doesn't really get the attention or as much sort of, attention as I would have expected, and I would almost rather the attention went to that one than the other one. But I don't think it should, as advice to others, I guess, I don't think it should I don't think it should dictate how you photograph going forward, because just because somebody likes your light and shadow stuff, it doesn't mean you should stick to doing that if you like to get gestures and layers and, direct sunlight stuff or nighttime stuff or whatever. You should shoot what you like and post it. And the engagement that you get doesn't necessarily mean that the photo was bad or good. It just means that it's maybe not as much part of the Instagram aesthetic or algorithm or whatever it is that makes some photos get more popular than others. I'm sure I've butchered something in there that I wanted to say, but whatever. What else was I going to talk about? So, being wrong. I'm often wrong about stuff. I don't ever claim to be a guru on things. I just have my opinions and my learnings over the last few years. And for sure, I've made videos even at the start of 2020 that I now think that maybe isn't, it's not necessarily bad advice, but for where I am now, I'm like, probably could have done that better. One of those things is the best minimal travel photography kit. And I made this whole video on the stuff that I was taking to Florida for our trip in February, right before lockdown. And I was taking my X-T2, my 56mm, which I just got, which wasn't necessarily part of the kit, but I was taking it, 35mm, my 18 to 55, no, I did not take that, and my 55 to 200 lens. So I took 3 lenses, the camera, I took my tripod, which this camera's on, I don't think I took my microphone or anything. I took my GoPro, laptop, hard drive, all that. What just happened? Is this still recording? It's all working. We're back, I think. Hopefully it goes alright this time. So what was I talking about? The minimal travel photography kit video that I made earlier this year. I think it was February, maybe January. The thing about it is it was everything that I thought I would need at that time. And looking back, I could have easily left the 55 to 200 at home. I took it because I like to shoot sunset from the balcony of our in-laws' place, because it's Florida. It's a pretty nice view, and everything looks cool to me because palm trees are not something that I ever really see. So I could have left that at home. I used it a couple times and there's a couple of photos were okay with it, but I wouldn't have missed not having it really. I could have left the tripod at home because I didn't make a video. I think the year before I tried to make videos with it, and we usually sort of take it when we're hiking in case we want to take like a selfie of me and Melissa, but really I could balance my camera on a bag or ask someone else to take the picture. So I could have left the tripod, I could have left that one lens, I could have left the 56 at home, but I brought it because it was new to me and I wanted to use it, and I actually got a lot of pictures that I really liked with it, so I don't regret taking that. But the 35 would have been absolutely fine. It's not that big of a difference, and I still got loads of photos that I like with the 35. So going forward in the future, don't think we're going to get to go this next in February just now, but I will probably just take the X100V and that's it. And I don't think I would take anything else. I would take the GoPro in case I wanted to make a POV video or something. But yeah, that's really what the best minimal travel photography kit is, unless you're vlogging or something like that, and then you want something maybe a bit more, but you could vlog with a GoPro. And if you really want to be minimal, take the GoPro, and get a little microphone for it if you hate the sound quality or whatever. So unless you're like making a proper production and like need to have that high-end production quality, then yeah, you're gonna go a little bit less minimal and you're gonna have to take a bigger camera. So yeah, I was wrong about what I think the best minimal travel photography kit was. That seemed like it was the best thing for me at the time, but it's not. One camera, one lens, maybe a GoPro if you like to make videos. At least videos like I do. And that's a much better minimal kit. I wouldn't even take a hard drive with me this time. I would just take several larger memory cards, and that's better than trying to take a hard drive and back up to your laptop or whatever. And yeah, I think it's fine. It's fine. That is all you need. A couple things and enough memory. All right. I don't know if I was going to talk about this or not. I was kind of but photography insecurities. I was watching a video earlier that reminded me of a video by Jamie Windsor that I saw a long time ago, and it was talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect, and that's where people with very little experience, if there was a graph, you see like with very little experience, their confidence and belief in how good they are goes way high, and then as they get better, their confidence goes down, 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 and then comes up again a little bit, and I think I don't know if it ever goes as high as their initial confidence. And I think that's because initially you don't know what you don't know, or you don't know that you don't know a bunch of other stuff. So you think that you've learned a whole bunch of stuff, and actually you've hardly learned anything, and your confidence shoots way up. And I sometimes don't know where I am on that thing, and I think to myself, well, my confidence used to be high, but now that I've seen that graph, has my confidence actually gone down, or do I just think that I'm going down and I'm still actually at the start and moving upwards? So I don't really know where I am on that, but I know that there's a ton, like an absolute ton. Most street photographers that I follow or have seen work from are far, far better than me. And I've not been doing this long enough to have even scratched the surface on street photography. So yeah, I think I'm still fairly early in at least the street photography curve. But I think that if you have insecurities, the point of this was if you have insecurities about your photography, then that's probably a good thing, because those insecurities mean that you want to get better and you can get better. If your confidence is high, you're probably more likely to not push yourself to get better because you already think that you're great. So having that insecurity is probably a benefit, as long as let me hang on. Yeah, so the self-doubt drives that self-improvement. As long as you also, on the flip side of it, have some self-confidence in order to not take any like shitty comments to heart. So if someone, I've had a few people moan about stuff, like someone said they didn't like CineStill and it looks trash and you should use Kodachrome because that's like true professional use slide film, what Alex Webb used, and blah 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 blah. And they need to bring photography back. That was the thing. And like, don't take stuff to heart. Some guy said something about the shit photos you take, and it's fine. I just let it like roll off my back. It's nice that I have a community of people that watch these videos that support and say they love watching them, and that always helps to drive me. But it sometimes negative comments can easily bring people down, make people mad, and you dwell on those more so than positive comments. And so having that self-confidence is kind of an important piece, to not take feedback or even constructive feedback the wrong way and to let it get you down. So have the insecurity that you're not good enough, but enough security that other people's opinions don't necessarily affect how you go forward. Unless those people are at the top of the game. If Alex Webb calls you up and says, just stop taking pictures, then maybe you could take that a little more to heart than someone else. But people at the top of the game generally don't do that. They're not going to waste their time telling people to stop taking pictures when they know that everybody has to practice in order to get better. It's usually people with less experience who are maybe not so far on that curve that will spit hate out at other people, saying that it's not good photography or it's trash, or just people that are being douchebags. And you just gotta let it go, because they probably don't really know what you're trying to do, or what actually is important. Alright, one more thing. Oh, I forgot to list out channels that I like. I'll do that in a different video. Someone asked about, recently, Robin Chun asked about my backstory, because maybe I don't give enough information about myself on YouTube, I guess, and I just figured people are here for photography. But if you're interested, I am originally from southwest Scotland, a town called Dumfries. That's where I grew up, and I went. How did I get? And then backstory, I guess, is how you get started in photography. So, I think I kind of got started. I spent a winter in 2011 to 2012 working in Courchevel in France, and I was a driver for a ski resort, and I was just faced with these beautiful scenes every day, and I was taking pictures with my iPhone 3 at the time, and I didn't have a good camera, and I was like, next time I go on a trip I need to take a good camera. So the next time that I went to the USA, came to the USA to work on a summer camp, and I bought like a Nikon sort of point and shoot type camera that was like $250, and I thought I was buying a really good camera, and it broke the first day I got there. I think I took about 10 pictures, and then I couldn't really get it to work after that, so I sent it back and got my money back, and never had a camera for another year after that. And then I got my granddad's film camera, and the next time I went on a trip, which was back to the USA to work on a different camp, I had a film camera. So I was it the year after? 2011, I went to... Oh no, the American trip came first. The first American trip came first, and the Nikon camera broke. Then I went to France, had no camera. Then I went back to America, which is the camp that trip was the camp that I met my wife in Pennsylvania, and I had a film camera that year and used it, learned how to shoot film, all manual stuff, had a light meter, but that was it. Didn't even know what it meant when I was turning the aperture dial. Not even sure I knew what it meant when I was turning the shutter dial either. But I just knew that if I turned these things in a certain way, I could get a correct exposure, and I didn't know what any of it meant. So that was that. That was my first experience with film. The year after that, my film camera broke, but I'd also bought a cheap digital camera, which I used. That was at another camp. Then fast forward to like 2015, I went to study abroad in Poland. My Melissa, who was my girlfriend at the time, came over, stayed with me for a few months, and then that Halloween, I flew over to America to propose to her, because she was expecting it every other trip that we did. So I had to fly over without telling her and just show up at her door. Then that's how I ended up there. In 2016, I moved to the US. 2017, we got married. 2017, when we moved to Philadelphia, also was when I started actually working as a photographer. I'd just been an enthusiast that whole time. Not even an enthusiast, I just had a camera. I didn't really pay that much attention to stuff. And I've been saying a lot. I really promised myself I wouldn't do that. So 2017, started my own photo thing. Started working with a wedding photographer in Philly who taught me basically everything I know about shooting weddings. I had started shooting with Canon. I got rid of all my older, cheaper, smaller cameras, lighter stuff, and I had full frame DSLRs. Then they got too heavy, and that's what led me to buy Fuji in like 2019. I did have an X100S, in 2018, and I never got to love it. And I think that's because I wasn't experienced enough to understand how to really use that camera. So I guess that's kind of my backstory. We were in Philly for 3 years, and this year, as the pandemic was like in full swing, my wife managed to find a job out in Colorado. I'd always wanted to move to like Colorado, Portland, Oregon, or Salt Lake City because there's mountains nearby, and I just like the climates or like the place there. And Philly was great though. It was a cool city, really good for street photography. New York would be even better for street photography. I'd love that, but I don't know that I could either afford to live in New York or like I wouldn't be able to escape. Like I need some space every now and again. So I don't know for how long I could stand New York. But that is the place to be for street photography for sure. Anyways, this is going to be a long video, so I'm sorry. And well done if you get this far. So I think that is my backstory. Moving out to Colorado, I just sort of restarted the business out here. Trying to, if you guys happen to know anybody in Colorado who's getting married or getting engaged, send them my way. The business name is Tartan Trues, because tartan pants. I'll put a link in the description. Alright, so I think that's it. I'm got a new camera. I'm gonna keep that secret for a minute, and I'm gonna make a video about it. I might make a couple POVs before. I'll make a video about it when I have a verdict on whether I like it or not. And I think I'm gonna like it just from initial stuff, and I need to kind of get used to the controls and whatnot. So, to be continued. Alright, so thanks very much for watching. I'm assuming if you've got this far in the video, you're probably already subscribed. Hit the like button, drop me a comment down below. I'm thinking about doing a 5k live stream or something. I don't know how to do live streams, but pretty near 5k, so maybe next week or the week after I will set up a live stream. And maybe a Q&A or something like that. So, alright, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.